Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth. Hello folks, welcome to Crosstalk on Enterprise TV. I'm Citizen Jones Hussein. You know, life is determined by the choices we make. Of course, with so many options available to us, making decisions can sometimes feel daunting or confusing. So for us in Nigeria, dealing with a monumental subsidy removal was more akin to taking away the sin of our national life. Experts had opined that the negative implications of the removal far outweigh the positive ones. In the short term, it would decrease economic growth, increase poverty, increase petrol smuggling, increase crime and prices of petroleum products, and of course, a massive loss of jobs in the informal sector. Now, apostles of the pro-subsidy regime talked about lowering prices and controlling inflation in the area of production cost inputs, particularly when global crude oil prices were rising. Other pluses they argued included a prevention of the decline of industries, a greater supply of goods and services, and so on. Now, two men would go head to head right now. The one says subsidy has to go, and the other says the policy is inauspicious and so must stay. Let's meet them in a moment. All right, now let's meet and greet our discussants, or if you like, combatants. In no particular order, we meet and greet Cyril Abaku. He's a broadcaster and communications consultant. Cyril, welcome.
Thank you.
We also have Oladende Ario, who is a national affairs commentator. I greet you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, subsidy removal, to be or not to be. So who takes the lead off?
Well, I'll tell you straight away that the first question I want to ask you first is what is subsidy? For to know. Subsidy basically...
But I hear in country after country, subsidy is practiced.
Absolutely. America subsidizes food. In most places, education is subsidized. Okay? But in our situation here, we choose to subsidize petroleum products. And why? It's because we must ask ourselves and we must answer.
Okay, it was a choice.
Yeah, because we had alternatives. But before I go to that, let me bring it down to the brass tacks. We have a farmer that has a family. He has gari already made from cassava. They need to make eba. And he didn't have a functional cooking stove.
Or for that matter, hot water.
Instead of either buying another stove or repairing his faulty and dilapidated stove, he went to his neighbor. Come and help me make eba. You know what that means? The eba will come back in reduced proportion, not in this
Originals, yeah.
was taken away. So bringing it now back home, for that man to continue to produce at the rate where he will meet the demand of that family, okay? The man was charging more, and then they have to cushion the price so it could be affordable to the citizenry. Now, who does that? Why not repair your faulty stove or buy a new one? And that is where it came in. And you know, because our management style here is loaded with corruption and fraud, it became a safe haven for those who don't love Nigeria and Nigerians. At a time, we were paying subsidy in billions. When, you know, I call them the buccaneers, they saw opportunity.
The carpet baggers.
They saw opportunity, and then importation of that became a big deal. Without importing anything, they were submitting paper, making claim for subsidy.
And the claims were paid.
They were paid. it got to a point that at the National Assembly, there was a case of a member who was set up because he was demanding for a part of the court. At the end of the day, nothing happened. He enjoyed and ended his tenure happily.
No wonder the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said corruption is worse than diabetes.
I agree with him.
Yeah.
So it got to a point that a greater portion of our annual budgets, which was being funded by borrowed funds, was now also being deployed to pay for subsidy.
That was a choice we made.
That was, I said, it was a bad choice.
Okay, so some presidential contenders talked about subsidy must go. But none of them told us about the modus.
Yes. In fact, not just them. Nigerians generally came to be fed up with what we call subsidy. Somebody was saying the other time that he had taken so much subsidy money that he was tired of even making more money. That was the extent of the humongous, unconscionable, gargantuan corruption that subsidy became. I maintain again that as far as Nigeria is concerned, subsidy is another word for corruption. Mr. Arias alluded to the fact that not only was the corruption humongous, we were now going to borrow money and bring in borrowed funds to fund what was not being funded. So people were coming and making empty claims. Did they import fuel? No. But they had papers they brought to say we have imported fuel and we distribute it. So federal government was paying willy-nilly. Now, subsidy if that is corruption, it has to go.
All right. The everyday Nigerian seems to be at sea here. Does he understand the dynamics?
It's not. You see, there were so many issues on the table. People don't understand. Subsidy is one, restructuring is another. People mount those things without having knowledge at whatever depth of what those things represent. Now, I just explained to you why subsidy. Now, you saw all the demerits listed in your intro, and in our own eyes, they have come upon us. I couldn't drive down here because I couldn't fuel my car. They had to send a car for me. You know why? A liter of petrol now costs almost 600 naira.
No thanks to subsidy?
No thanks to subsidy. The question is, I'm a trained management student. We should have identified the problem, which we did, which was the refineries that were not working. We had said, if you cannot repair all these old, dilapidated refineries, let's go for modular refineries at regional level. Politically, we have 6 regions. Let each region has a modular refinery. Then let Lagos has 2 because of the population, human and vehicular traffic that we have there.
Yeah.
If that had been done, the price of petroleum products will naturally come down and eliminate
because of competition and all.
Exactly. Yeah. And not only that, some private individuals came in here. They were licensed to start refineries, but the terms and conditions were unfriendly, so they would not.
Begs the question of, were we sincere when we granted the licenses?
I mean, well, it was job for the boys, kind of compensation to those who supported their campaign in whatever form.
Cyril, are we in a quandary?
We're in a quandary, and for me, the blame will not even go to people who come and make subsidy claims. In every corruption case, there is a giver and there's a receiver. If the federal government was willing to be paying subsidy monies to people who they didn't know, and the president even acknowledged that in his second speech after being sworn in, he said a handful of persons were taking these monies and nobody knew where they went. He was not willing to investigate anybody. He was not willing to ask questions. He just came and said, this we are doing. So the question is, if government was willing to fund that corruption and found takers who are willing to accept that corruption, whether it is for the takers as for the givers, what we care to hear is that that subsidy is now no more in existence. So to that extent, I think it ought to be a policy that benefits the common man, whether it is it's government. What we should not be discussing is how do we identify those who took money in the past and they face the law.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they took money that did nothing for. That's my own entry now.
Yeah.
We must get back to where I stopped. If we had either repaired the moribund refineries or bring in modular refineries, naturally.
But let me ask you a little. You think our old refineries are salvageable?
Unfortunately, I'm not an expert in that field, but year in, year out, funds were allocated for turnaround, maintenance, for revamping processes. Again, the same corruption that was benefiting from subsidy made sure that those refineries never got repaired. Now, in corruption circuits, it's not only two legs, not just the giver and the taker. There's the facilitator who makes it possible.
Yeah.
So we must always consider government this time around is the facilitator, represented by NNPC. You want to ask yourself, is NNPC the only national occupation in the world? No, but it's the least efficient in the whole world. Go to Dubai and see what they are doing. Go to Saudi Arabia, see what Aramco is doing.
Brazil.
Go to Brazil. I mean, go to any of the oil producing countries. You see the difference. But here, everything is opaque and unclear. They only throw figures around that do not add up and do not make sense. At the end of the day, our naira become weakened. Why? More money was being sent abroad to go and buy what naturally belonged to us. You understand? At all times, if we had crude here, all we do was to get our refineries working, get the petroleum price refined. We will pay. It is possible to buy petrol here at 40 naira per litre.
Then consider this. We export a barrel of crude oil in return for finished products. And the finished product in this case is just premium motor spirit. Nobody's talking about grease and other byproducts.
It's a whole industry. If you want to go into the losses that Nigeria gets into by not being able to refine, loss of jobs is also there, then we are empowering other economies from where we are buying those things. It bears common sense that we have the crude oil here, and some people in their wisdom established refineries. Others now came, instead of ensuring that those things were working, they made sure they were not working.
All right. Cyril, it's about choices now. For a country that has the penchant, as the French would say, for not punishing bad behavior, you get the impression we are running into a cul-de-sac.
As a matter of fact, why subsidy had to go? Are you aware that it is Nigerian subsidy money that funds fuel supply in Benin Republic? In parts of Nigeria.
Has that been proven?
Oh, of course. There are,
but mine is, we hear a lot of stories flying around.
There are clearly identifiable smuggling routes.
Cyril, I've heard that subsidy is back, but I can't place a finger on it.
Well, I can tell you that subsidy has to go. I don't know how the president wants to get about it. I myself didn't quite buy into the way he came and said subsidy is gone, and there was no plan, there was no palliative measures.
He was speaking like a maximum ruler.
It didn't really, it didn't really come to me like there was it was a well thought out plan, or But the fact is, this subsidy is an evil. You are talking about subsidy arguably having come back, right? The week it was confirmed that subsidy might have come back to the equation, there was an explosion at a fuel dump site in Benin Republic, just close to the border with Nigeria. Okay. Because ostensibly, as money came back into circulation, the thing that money came to push, the product began to circulate once again. And storage that had been, should I say, left to just be there for some time, when product came back to them, suddenly sort of went up in flames. The fact is this: a country that has refineries that are not working, a country that is blessed with crude and blessed with the minds, brains, the world over that can come back and revamp the sector, we would rather have a case whereby we want to be importing PMS where you have oil theft on an industrial scale. They bring a ship that's 3 times as big as a village, a Nigerian village, and berth. The naval intelligence wouldn't see it. Military intelligence wouldn't see it. Police intelligence wouldn't see it. NSCDC wouldn't see it. DSS wouldn't pick it until they were well out of our waters and were traveling back to after packing a crude route and we are going.
A ship as big as my village.
Now, so and it will take about 3 months to fill. The argument again is this: the corruption and the rot in the oil sector is the poster child of corruption in Nigeria. Subsidy is like what Niccolo Machiavelli called the toothing stone, okay, of the corruption in Nigeria. So we must deal with it. Dealing with this matter will be like the best way to deal with this with the malaise. So that when you deal with it, every other person takes note that if the most important thing can be dealt with, then any other thing can follow.
Yeah.
So dealing with subsidy will prove that a war on corruption in Nigeria is also very possible.
Yeah. Then it's the way forward.
The missing link.
Yeah.
Leadership.
Okay.
Leadership. What about leadership? The managers of our resources, our commonwealth, our patrimony, and the problem that we've had. You know the story of Singapore. I don't have to repeat it. It bears common sense when we say we have porous borders. Who makes the borders porous? Me or you? Nigeria has over 1,500 unmanned borders identified. Why don't we just do something about those things? When it became an issue, Trump went and built a wall to fence off Mexico. I've been to San Diego before, and San Diego was a border town between America
and Mexico.
30 minutes, you have crossed to another country. And we had the chance of going to Tijuana as tourists on the weekend. And we saw the difference. Trump did all of these things to protect the American interest. The Nigerian leadership is not protect Nigerian interest. Hence, we now see because they are smuggling our products to Cameroon, Cotonou. Is that why Nigerians should suffer? Because we are suffering now. And I keep saying it, that if they had, in their wisdom, instead of ruining Nigeria, if they are running the country for growth and development, they don't know that the importance of refineries working, because the alternative to they are not working is what they call subsidy, which was corruption, PLC. But they failed in that aspect. Today, there is this body spray that I use. I used to buy for 2,000, 300,000, 400. This time I bought it, it was 4,750. Then there is a roll-on too. My daughter uses. It was 300 naira. I bought it was 1,400 naira. I can go on and on. Taking a bus.
But then at that point, it is not government. It is black on black.
I refuse to accept that. When petrol was being sold at 180 naira, nobody was charging.
So because of subsidy, the trader must.
Inflation, uncontrollable inflation was bestowed on us suddenly. Everybody, the transporter had to pay more to fill his vehicle, so he has to charge more to sustain his business.
I understand.
And then the man carrying the farm product from his village to Lagos is paying more. Therefore, vegetables and other farm products, they also shut up.
Yeah.
The woman selling food in Lagos is buying now at a higher price.
And of course, security is also insecurity.
They also, they became loaded. Then you will now from Ikeja to Fadeyi or Yaba, you will now pay 600 naira. What we were paying 200 naira before. Now, before I will drop the mic, let me remind him that if they had done the right thing, naturally subsidy would have died. But even if we now say you are removing subsidy, you are entering into a new office, fresh. You were never a president before. Common sense dictates that you get in first, take a seat.
But the impression is given that you were prepared for the office.
But because that preparation was not adequate, that's where we are today. Because if there was adequate preparation, number one, the refineries would have been on the way to working.
All right.
It should be 6 months since this government came to power,
And so you are not enamored of
at all.
hold on.
And I'm saying,
you are not enamored of a promise that by December ending.
How many times have we been told the same thing by previous civilian governments? And I was in Chatham House when the then candidate Buhari said he would build one refinery every year. He spent 8 solid years. He didn't build jack.
Okay. Cyril, and so subsidy had to go. So is there a better way of dealing with the subsidy question?
No, the matter again.
No, otherwise, what I mean is, do you think Peter Obi or Atiku would have done it differently?
Well, of course, because I'm not on their minds, I wouldn't have known. I mean, the same question would have been asked: would the president do it the same way? Now, but now that he's in office, he's doing it the way he's doing it. The question we have to ask ourselves is: the oil marketers. We can't blame government for what marketers do. When the market is thrown open, what basically it means is that we are now allowing the price to be determined by demand and supply.
Yeah.
So is it that Nigerian marketers are vast?
They call it market forces, but it would appear we are ruled by evil forces. Cyril, and then we must observe a break. This is the big debate about the subsidy regime, to be or not to be. We should be back very shortly. Enterprise TV, your one-stop shop for news, programs, human angle stories, the economy, sports, and much more. We go the extra mile to bring incredible details to you. So hop on the train now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth. Okay, folks, let's push the debate on. Subsidy regime, to be or not to be. And my two combatants are here, Cyril Labaku and Oladende Ario. Cyril, should subsidy regime be scrapped or retained?
It should be scrapped, because in the long term, that's what we're going to be. So it should be scrapped.
Okay. Then should we do away with subsidy or?
As long as we're able to either get our old refineries working or bring in new ones, subsidy should be allowed. Why? Because the wider constituency.
Subsidy should stay.
It should stay, because the wider constituency of removing subsidy is negative, and it is capable of impoverishing the larger number of people. Before subsidy removal, which we are experiencing now, we had 130 million people facing multi-dimensional poverty.
That's what we're told.
If the same MBS will go back now to do their metrics, almost 170, if not 180 million now, will be in that same bracket.
Yeah.
And that is because they remove subsidy instead of getting refineries to work.
Yeah, but even when the ordinary townsfolk believes that the subsidy regime is evil and so on.
That is the narrative they want us to
so you are quarreling with the how, the how, not the why.
We all know that it is evil, but like I told you how we got there. So for us to get out of it, we do the right thing. I.e., get our refineries working.
Cyril, so in the course of our discussion, we talked about country after country, subsidy is practiced. But in our case, subsidy has become an albatross by choice.
Of course, by choice. And the question that you sometimes ask yourself is, will there ever be a perfect time to do a good thing? Perhaps not. Government took away subsidy. There were projections. There's a possibility that the price of fuel goes up to 200, 300, 400, 500. But where we are now, 600 plus, even some cases 700. It is not.
You don't think that is deliberate?
No, it's. Oh, of course, sure. I was going there.
Okay.
It's when you leave a matter to be determined by market forces, government has taken its hand off. Unfortunately, what you find is that, and again, I don't understand how Nigerian businessmen do their thing, because you would have expected oil marketers to now understand that they need to invest more, bring in more crude. That alone could also beat down the price of petroleum, but they wouldn't do that. So there is a sense in which the market itself is also playing out in a very inorganic way. An organic market that has our size, has our vigor, has our rigor, has our strength, has our kind of activity. I don't see the price of oil going up. Yes,
suffer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nigerians are very enterprising. They're very resilient. They will work. They will do. As a matter of fact, let me even make this point very clear. The initial shock notwithstanding, places where people were paying 15 naira before, they now start paying 100 naira. In some cases, maybe 17 naira. Some places where they are paying 150 naira, maybe they now start paying 200. It is not as if in some areas the cost went from 1,000 to 1,000,000, for example. But you see, just like going back to what
and this crazy rule in Nigeria,
when things go up, they hardly come down. You know, it was like what happened at Cash Crunch too. People could have been feeling for fellow Nigerians, but they didn't do that. They saw an opportunity to kill others to make more money. So they say, if you want to withdraw money from the POS for like, let's say 10,000 naira, they say you're going to pay 5,000 naira to get 5,000 naira. Clearly, that was not what they. I mean, you have the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know you are exploiting fellow Nigerians. So you can't rule out the fact that this price we are seeing as fuel is selling at 700 and above is inorganic. If we are to face matters the way they should be, why are we not patriotic enough as Nigerians? Yeah. Because for many years the crowd was unanimous. Subsidy must go.
Yeah. Then so subsidy must stay, regardless of the fact that a very big fly in the ointment is crude oil theft.
Now, that's another dimension entirely. Okay? It's still part of the cluelessness of the leadership. For instance, NNPC has not produced a liter of petrol in a long time. The staff of NNPC, they get paid, they get promoted, they go and leave. Who does that?
Nigeria.
That's why I told you that leadership is our problem, not subsidy.
Okay.
Leave subsidy alone. Continue your importation. Get the refineries working. When they are working, importing will no longer be attractive.
Yeah. But the picture is like that of a man pouring water into a basket.
It's pouring water, as to describe into a basket, is part of the cluelessness. Somebody told the world that was going to be. He even said he didn't know what subsidy was, that he didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Okay? But what happened? He came in and allowed the people, the buccaneers, to run rings around him, and then they lost his vision. Instead of building refineries, which will have naturally eliminated.
President Buhari probably never even knew what subsidy was.
He didn't know. But what happened? He ended up paying far more
but
than what the other was paying.
He was paying.
No.
No, is what?
I agree with President Buhari that he probably didn't even understand what subsidy was, and he was simply being honest.
Did he not promise to build refineries?
He was probably being honest.
One every year. Did he build any? Did he repair the one that were working?
Now,
did he not pay money out for repairs and town?
The NNPC has said that even if Dangote refinery came on stream now, the price of petrol will still remain high up.
But the Dangote refinery, we initially were told July, of course. This is November.
Because I don't work for the refinery. I'm just saying the NNPC said that even if the refinery came on stream now, the price of petrol will still be up. The matter is this: is simple. Why are Nigerian businessmen and women? Why are Nigerians not interested in cashing in on the opportunity we now have with subsidy being thrown out the window? That is the question. Why is the NNPC saying today that even if the Dangote refinery came on stream, that the price of petrol will still remain high? I thought the NNPC,
what was the rationale?
I honestly don't understand that. So is there a conspiracy by certain persons and certain institutions to say, look, no matter what happens, whether subsidy goes or not, we will just be interested in making sure that.
Then how do we puncture that?
You are making me to repeat myself.
Yeah, at the risk of repeating everything.
Assuming they agreed, as you suggested, to have regional refineries.
Yes. At least six.
Each region by now would have been exporting products. By the time we start exporting, we will have stopped exporting crude oil. Instead, we export finished products. But because of the cluelessness, not only are we still exporting, people are now, other entrepreneurs are now cashing on that, and then they created a huge industry out of crude oil theft.
Okay.
So all of these things,
knowing nobody would
all of these
punish.
things, they drop at the table of leadership. And that's why when President Tinubu said the people he appointed into offices as ministers that look, if you guys are not going to work, you're not going to take it. The boss stopped at his desk. Now that he has seen the consequences, the negative of removing subsidy, and he's trying to work from the back to the front. I don't know how it's going to work, but until the refineries are made to start working, we are wasting time.
All right, Cyril, I'm almost persuaded by his argument.
No.
I'm wondering why you are not.
No, but I think it's an argument that is right, respectfully speaking, right by half. The matter on the table is he agrees with me that subsidy is an evil, that subsidy is corruption, that subsidy is not sustainable.
Yeah, but his argument is the management of subsidy.
That's another kettle of fish entirely. Should subsidy stay or go? Subsidy has to go. We agree on that. What he's not happy with is how the president has gone about it. It's fine. But does subsidy have to stay? No. Because the majority of Nigerians said that subsidy must go. The question is, why should subsidy go? When we had subsidy, it was pure corruption. People were 400 billion every month. Where was money even coming from?
Cyril, I need to help you.
He needs plenty of help.
Let me remind you.
I'm not lost somewhere. I'm not lost somewhere. The question on the table
I will answer
is the same thing. The question is, should subsidy remain? And you are saying yes, I'm saying no.
When subsidy was removed,
yes,
people like you, they were clapping. Yes, corruption will end. This will stop. That will stop. When the pain and the agonies of Nigerians got to Oga in Abuja, he started planning palliative. They gave states 5 billion naira to buy food items for their citizens.
But do you support throwing money out?
That's where I'm going.
Okay, go there.
Because they saw the failure of the removal to now cushion the adverse consequences.
Okay.
Through the back door, they brought in subsidy. They call it palliative. Unfortunately, how many bags of rice did you get?
no, sir. I did say
Has he gotten any?
The same corruption that you think.
I did say from the beginning that how the president might have gone about it is questionable, but that in principle subsidy had to go.
Look, America subsidizes food. I remember the first time I found myself in New York and I saw pizza. They said $3. It looked so small. And I said, no, give me the one of $5. By the time they gave me that pizza, it was in my hotel room for 1 week. It was in the fridge. Thank God they gave me
My friend said he got to America, the first thing he did was to go to a cold store and start buying chicken. And a black American behind him said, brother, you having a party? The man said, no. He said, you don't need to stop.
He thought he may go out of fashion.
He thought he was
used to the Nigerian system of shopping and unavailability of the basics.
Yeah.
So we're saying the same thing, only that I told you they should not remove subsidy until the right things are done. When it was removed abruptly, what did they have to do? Through the back door, they brought it back. It's not bad.
I don't know if you have the evidence that
the palliative, the fact.
I am not sure you have the evidence to say that.
Multiply 5 billion.
I am not
by
sure.
37.
I am not sure you have the evidence to say that has come back.
Were we not giving 5 billion?
I am not sure you
have to counterpart and counterfund that thing.
That subsidy has not what was that? Subsidy itself.
What was that?
I'm not aware because it was that one was never given for money to be shared. It was given so governors could buy food and share.
How much of the food
I'm saying that
go to citizens?
Subsidy is corruption. We agree on that.
Then subsidy are we not back to square zero now?
No, we are not. We're not. I'm saying subsidy is corruption, subsidy is evil, and we all agree. In the last election, Petrol agreed, Atiku agreed, Tinubu agreed that subsidy had to go.
You see, the modus, are they experts in this business?
The modus is a secondary argument, and I've said that look, that this could have been handled much better.
Yeah.
But that in principle, subsidy had to go.
I'm surprised that you
go.
surrender to political conversation that had no basis. Did they elucidate how they are going to do it?
Then they were all political animals. So
I am not saying no, but at the same time, I will not surrender my perception, my thinking faculty to dictates of political conversation. You must examine what they are saying. Are they talking to you or they just dive in?
But are you happy with the choices we are making as a people?
I am not happy. And I will tell you again, it's still basically leadership. It's still basically failure of democracy, which was occasioned by the missing of the two critical elements of democracy.
Namely?
Accountability and transparency.
Okay.
So until we can get leadership right, until we can put in government, people who understand that, it's not about statistics now, it's not about figure. Economy is about the people, their purchasing power.
Yeah.
And say, okay, where do we go? Keep paying subsidy. Go and feed the refineries. Nobody imports anymore. Nobody sources for dollar.
Yeah.
It will naturally die.
Yeah. Cyril, are we a long way from home?
Well, we may not be as long away from home as Mr.
We already are.
Wants us to believe. Yes, as I've said, what are the opportunities open to Nigerians?
As we sit here.
Yes, with the policy of taking subsidy off. And nobody's talking about that. For example, I've said that the sharp rise in the cost of goods and services, sharp rise in the cost of petrol, for example, is inorganic. Nobody's even talking about that. We must run the conversation to understand all the nuances involved before we can arrive at a conclusion. But for me, I'll say it again. The reality is stuck in our faces. Subsidies corrupt. People come to Abuja to say, I've imported so and so liters of petrol into Nigeria.
Submit a paper.
And I'm distributing. Meanwhile, not a drop of it came into this territory. It has wound up in Cameroon, wound up in Benin Republic, one from on the high seas there and then. They turn back and take it, and even as far as Gabon. So the question is, should such corruption be allowed to continue? The answer is a big no.
Then our problem is man-made.
Leadership. We are part of it. Machines are not our leaders. We are not yet in the area of AI managing our political offices.
So he agrees with me now. Subsidy was man-made evil, man-made corruption against Nigerians. And as such, what about the question?
You are raising your voice.
Will there ever be a perfect time to do a good thing?
Yeah.
It's not about perfect time or no perfect time. It is doing the right thing. What's the right thing? Let refineries work. End of story. Once they are working, nobody.
But you agreed with me that refineries, the four, as in the state they are at, cannot be redeemed.
I've said it, I'm not an expert.
Uh-huh.
If they say, now as we are talking, there is a plan.
You gave the analogy of the man wants to make Gary, buy a new stove.
And now, we have said that they should go for modular refineries. They don't take that long time to be manufactured and to be installed. We've said this thing since 1999, when we started seeing signs of the failure of governance, but nobody listened. Why did they not listen? They needed to do all of that to fill their pockets, and that's what they've been doing till today.
Siri, is it possible to exist as a country, as a people, without subsidy?
It is very possible.
Okay.
We can have the post-subsidy conversation as a country. It becomes part of our socio-economic civilization to say that we were here once, and from experience we moved to
the next stage.
And I mean set a very high banner and standard for living, in this new form. What do we need to do? First of all, is the will to decide that we're going to move from where we are to where we ought to be. Is the will available? Of course it is available. Can we act on it? Definitely we can. I am very sure that Mr. Ariel is aware that a few years back, licenses were issued for modular refineries.
I remember Obasanjo, yes.
Even Jonathan. But it hasn't even helped us to understand why those modular refineries didn't work. Let me explain. If you hear now that federal government is releasing $2 billion
didn't work or didn't get established.
I'm coming. If you hear, one was even launched on national TV. I remember, I think somewhere in the State or so. If you hear now that they've released $2 billion to fix, to repair either Kaduna, Wari, or Port Harcourt refineries, he's going to say this is corruption. If you hear now that they issue licenses again, the question will be, the ones they give in the past, what happened? Have you gone back to check why they couldn't take off? I'm saying that anybody who keenly understands Nigeria realizes that some things that didn't work in the past may not have not worked because they didn't want to work. It was perhaps due to these same inorganic things I've talked about. People have opportunities, instead of exploiting them, they leave it and then start chasing other things. If subsidy has to go, it simply has to go. There's no need to take the argument to the left or to the right. We've thought of CNG buses, for example, compressed natural gas. Why shouldn't we give these things room to show whether they can truly work or not? Why?
Yeah, he has talked about planlessness.
I don't know about that, but at least I know that in Ogun State now they're going to roll out some buses. The question is, why won't you allow an alternative to work? Let's even see first whether it works or not.
Drop this.
Yeah.
The private refinery in Imo State started production. I understand they're doing
600 barrels
a day.
Yeah.
Now imagine we have 10 of that across the nation. What picture are we going to have? We will stop. I mean, it's a reasonable thing until you stop import. I mean, you start local production and then naturally stop importation. You just can't do away with subsidy because the people's welfare are concerned. As we are talking now, people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have lost their lives because they couldn't pay the cost of their healthcare bills. We can't go on and on until you're able to solve the bigger one of a refinery, whereby we will be exporting and earning more dollar.
So there's hope.
If we either repair the old refinery or we install new ones.
Okay.
As I told you, subsidy will naturally
Die.
When you were a young, I mean, in 1985, when I finished NYSC and I bought a car, the fuel from Abuja to Abeokuta was less than 3 naira.
Yeah. If you tell a Nigerian that in the Shagari years, we bought a pump price, a liter of petrol was 15 kobo. It will
look like a dream.
Yeah, you are speaking from something you saw in a film, you know. So it's possible we have been there.
The joke then, they will say, buying a car is not the problem, but fueling.
Yes.
It was a bad joke. It is now that fueling is a problem. Not buying the car.
See, we must take this home now. In closing, shall we say the subsidy regime is a
necessary evil if you want to
should
take that
stay
away
or go?
My position and my proposition on this table is simple. Subsidy is evil. Subsidy is corruption.
It is unsustainable.
Yes, it's not sustainable. It is brigandage, and therefore it has to go.
Okay. Dende.
You don't build something on nothing. Okay? Removing subsidy is not a solution. You already started seeing the wider consequences. Some companies are leaving Nigeria for Benin, for Cotonou.
Not necessarily because subsidy is there, but
because of the inflation that came upon us.
Okay.
Also led to greater insecurity, joblessness, started promoting kidnapping. People started forming kidnap gangs. They started forming ritualist gangs to kill people and think they will make money from there. We can go on and on. Why not just let things be and do the right thing?
Gentlemen, we must apply the brakes here, but not before reminding us that a thing is not necessarily true because a man has decided to lose his life for it. The subsidy regime has been with us for a while now. How we do away with it or retain it is a question. I'm out of here, but let me thank Cyril Labaku for coming.
Thank you, citizen.
Alada Inde Ariyo, many thanks for your time. Yeah.
I'll come
Yeah.
again.
We'll do it again.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. On behalf of the Backroom Boys, I say many cheers and thanks for viewing. Enterprise TV, your one-stop shop for news, programs, human angle stories, the economy, sports, and much more. We go the extra mile to bring incredible details to you. So hop on the train now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.